This ought to be good for the thumbnail. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. So if y'all could see me, which you clearly cannot, but if you could, you would probably be whispering among yourself, has the boy finally flipped? Why is he wearing dark shades inside? Does he work for the Secret Service? More about that in a second or two, or a minute or two. So our esteemed pastor asked me a question one day. He said, do you have a spiritual side? I've never seen it. Some questions don't deserve an answer. So I just didn't answer. But you're going to get a little glimpse of that spiritual side this morning. This is going to be a little different than even what I do. So not long after we got here, my wife and I carved out a nice piece of real estate on the left aisle toward the back. And I mean, everybody knew that was our chair. Her wrap was there, her purse was there. We did everything except carve our initials on the side of it. But some visitor apparently come in and moved us to the other side of the building. So that's where we're at now. But it was while we were occupying that prime real estate. And that's good. None of us have it. We're territorial, aren't we, when it comes to our seats?
Yeah.
So Brother Carr one day was coming down the center aisle of the church. You know what it is when the Spirit kind of just, there's a little lull and we're waiting for tongues and interpretation. Everybody's over there looking for Brother Clyde like, now. It was one of those spiritual moments. And here comes the pastor, and I barely knew the guy, what, for a month maybe? And here he comes straight to me. And I was excited because my spiritual side was kicking in. I knew what he wanted, or at least I thought I did. I thought he was going to ask me to carry the scrolls to the pulpit with a dove descending so he could preach from the Holy Writ. I really did. But that's not what he had in mind. He leaned over and he told me, as any wise pastor would do, he said, about time you got a haircut. So who's the spiritual one? So we're going to turn this to a little bit of spirituality this morning. Everybody's probably wondering who Ronald Wayne is. We'll get to that in a second or two. So years ago, I played a game with my grandchildren, specifically the girls. I would put my dark glasses on and I would say, you can't see me. Yeah, we can, Papa, you're right there. I said, no, got my dark glasses on. You can't see me. After a while, they understood the game and they loved it, and they would play it too. They'd put on their little glasses, and they'd say, where am I at? I said, I don't know. I don't see you. Sometimes that's the way it is with God, with us. We pray, we fast, we try to do things right. We read the Word of God, but we find ourselves in a situation that we take a wrong road in life, maybe the dark, seedy side of town, and end up somewhere we have no business in being, figuratively speaking.
Sure.
Or maybe we're on the internet, a super highway, and we click on a website we have no business seeing. It's times like that, I believe, that a lot of times we think, God, you can't see me. I'm in my own little corner. I appreciate your being there. You're there when I need you. But right now, let me deal with my sin. So it is with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. The Bible doesn't tell how long they walked, but month after month, possibly year after year, God would come down and visit Adam and Eve in the cool of the day.
Right.
Only this time, Adam and Eve were nowhere to be found. They thought God could not see them. He had had their dark glasses on. And God said, Adam, where are you? Well, we know God knew where Adam was at.
Sure.
But we also know that God wanted Adam to know where Adam was at. So in that dark corner of our lives when we're doing something wrong, God is still there.
Yep.
Years ago, I had a pastor, and this was an old school guy. He would preach that if you sinned, like, for example, you went into a bar, God would leave you. And that didn't sit well with me as a young person. I'm like, Lord, when I needed you the most, you left me. And, you know, he went on for years preaching that. We now know that's not true. Some of the old-timers didn't have everything right. Where is God when you do something like that? He's right here. He's grieving. You may have your dark glasses on, but God can still see you. This morning, under the auspices of the Spirit of God, I want to speak to you for the next few moments on who is Ronald Wayne. So if you didn't Google it, if you did not Google it, raise your hand if you know who Ronald Wayne is. Good. Anybody? Poor guy. Who is Ronald Wayne? So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, a few weeks ago, I was not here, obviously. We were traveling. Yeah, shock, right? And I jumped on the YouTube channel and I listened to this guy fixing to start speaking. I'm like, all right, Brother Jake's teaching, let's go. And then he started talking about me. Well, it got my attention, of course. What is he going to say about me? He got tickled because one of the last times that I taught up here, He said, I ran out of notes. Y'all remember that? About halfway through the lesson, 3/4, I just shut my notes and I said, I'm done.
You remember that?
Do you? And I called somebody up here to testify, a lady from the back, which was Sister who?
Schlegel.
Is she here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there she is. And y'all probably thought that was a space filler or a time filler. It wasn't. The truth is I did not run out of notes, not even close. I had enough notes to go an entire third session, but I just felt like I was done. So my question to you and you is, what happens when you run out of notes when you don't have any? I have no notes this morning. Everything I need is up here, and hopefully it'll come out when I need it to. Everybody say we're in trouble. So who is Ronald Wayne? April 1st, 1976, two college kids got together. Broke college kids, I might add. Dropouts, I might add. They decided they wanted to launch a tech company. Probably because they had no experience. They had no money. Didn't know what they were doing, but they did it anyway. They were going to launch a tech company. So a couple of days in, they decided, one of them did, hey, we're going to need a third business partner. The other guy said, no way. I'm not going to give up my slice of ownership. I'm thinking, ownership of what? He said, yeah, we're going to need a third business partner. Why? Because you and I were friends. We've been friends a long time. We've attended college a long time. We're not always going to agree. One of these days, there's going to come a decision that we need to make. We're going to need a tiebreaker. And the guy said, you know what? That's right. I didn't think about that. So they decided to sit down and list the attributes of an incoming third business partner. Number one, we like somebody older, somebody with more experience than we have. We like somebody that has a pile of cash because you and I don't have two nickels to rub together. We like somebody that can write contracts. And most importantly, somebody that possesses the financial wherewithal to break a tie. Enter Ronald Wayne. Ronald Wayne was 42, 20 years their senior. He had opened businesses before. He'd successfully ran businesses. He had a pile of cash. He had assets. He was an expert at writing contracts. And he certainly possessed the ability to break a tie. So they decided, what are we going to give this guy? 10% of the company. That's fair. He took it. He wrote out the agreement. And this agreement, hammered out by Mr. Ronald Wayne, worked fabulously for 12 days. At the end of the 12th day, Ronald Wayne goes to his two business partners. He said, I'm out. He said, why are you out? You just got in. We're only 12 days old. He said, probably for the same reason why you wanted me in. I have a pile of cash. I've got assets to protect. You see, I've been in some bad business deals where my business partners did something not good from a financial spectrum, and I had to write checks. It took me a year to dig out. You guys are broke. I get that. I got a little money. I got to protect it. For that reason, I'm out. So they decided that, okay, we need to pay this guy off. What's it worth? The two other business partners met and they said, well, I think $800 is probably a good, fair price. And the other one said, yeah, I think that's a great price. Let's go talk to Ronald. They brought Ronald Wayne in and said, we're going to give you $800. He goes, yeah, that's perfect. 12 days of work, wrote a couple of contracts. I'll take the $800. So who is Ronald Wayne? Do we know yet? We still don't know. April 1st, 1976, two college kids got together. They decided they wanted to start a tech company, joined by a third business partner, and their names are Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne.
Wow.
You know who that is? You may have heard the little fledgling startup. It's called Apple Computers.
Yes.
Ronald Wayne gave up 10% ownership of Apple Computers for $800. How much money would he have today? You might ask?
How much?
Billions.
$322 billion. Ronald Wayne would be the wealthiest person to ever walk on the face of the earth. $322 billion. And he gave it up for the price of $800. Years later, they asked him, is that a mistake? Do you wish you would have done that? He goes, no. He said, given with the information I had at the time, I thought that's what I needed to do. But he did regret selling his contract. The first contract he wrote up, remember it? He sold that for $500. Years later, it sold for, take a guess. Somebody think high.
Millions.
500 million.
1.7 million dollars. So who is Ronald Wayne? You think you know by now? You really don't. I went to school with her. She was one of our young people. She could sing unbelievably. When she sang, the presence of the Lord would come down in a powerful, mighty way. She was amazing. It was as if you would hear the voice of heaven as she entertained the angels. But she walked away from God. She backslid. And to this day, she's still not living for God. And Ronald Wayne, AKA this little young person, gave up her 10% stake in the most valued company on earth for a paltry sum. Who is Ronald Wayne? Well, he was in our church, young, aspiring minister. He was amazing. Again, he, like the young lady, could usher in the presence of the Lord in an unbelievable, mighty way. But he also looked a different direction. The guy was so good at his oratory skills, he could peel the plaster off the back wall, figuratively speaking. He knew how to preach. Why does God put something into somebody so solid and then for turn to walk away? We don't know. We just don't know. I know a friend of mine ran into me yesterday at Cracker Barrel in Sulphur. This guy could preach unbelievably, and he has been behind a pulpit in 40 years. You know, all the years wasted. Ronald Wayne gave up his 10% stake in the most valued company on earth. Who is Ronald Wayne? You know him as Esau. Remember Esau? Mm-hmm. Esau, his brother Jacob.
Yeah.
Esau was a hunter. Jacob was what?
Tent dweller.
Deceiver. His name defined was supplanter. He was a deceiver. He decided one day to take his brother's birthright. You see, back in those days, the Israelites, the Jewish kids, would get the birthright to the oldest child. And Esau was the oldest child. How many would like your dad's birthright? How cool that would be. Your dad's blessing on everything you do in life. And he decided, you know what? That's the one thing I don't have. I'm going after it. I want it.
Yeah.
So he went to his house and he cooked up a big pot of porridge. It was smelling really good. Probably took that and put it in front of the return air and ran through the air ducts. This is my story. Leave me alone. So when Esau came in hunting from the field, he was starving, probably emaciated. He walked in and he said, "Man, what is that? I want some of that." He said, "Ha, this is your lucky day. You can have some, but it's going to cost you." He said, "What is it going to cost me?" "It's going to cost you your birthright." "I'm starving. I'm going to die anyway. I'll do the deal. Yeah, I'll give you my birthright." So Jacob and Esau made the exchange, and Esau gave up his 10% ownership in the most valued company on earth for what? A pot of
Porridge.
red beans and rice from Popeyes. Oh, you've had them too. They're really good. I don't think they're that good. And that's where we're at. Who is Ronald Wayne? It could be any of us. And that's a sad, sad thing to know. I spoke at my dad's funeral, 3 weeks ago? And I realized starkingly that I'm next. That's not a pretty thing to remember. You know, Grandpa's gone, Dad's gone, and guess who's next? So I've told you once or twice that I spoke at Dave Ramsey headquarters in Nashville, but I never told you what I spoke about. I referenced the 15th century playwright who once wrote in his writings, "Every man's life is a diary. The saddest chapter of that diary is when he compares what he should have written with what he did write." I stood and told those congregants that day that I wanted to spend the rest of my life undoing some bad chapters. Because one of these days I'm going to stand before God, and the Bible says the books will be opened.
Right.
All 66 of them.
Yeah.
And God is going to compare what we should have written with what we did right. I do not want to be Ronald Wayne.
Man.
Who is Ronald Wayne? Where's he at now? He's still among us. He's still alive.
Yeah.
Ronald Wayne is 90 years old, living in Nevada, retired obviously. He had a pretty lucrative career, nowhere near with the money that he gave up. You know, he did okay. He got into slot machines, built them, refurbished them, troubleshooted them. It's what he liked. It's what he liked doing his entire life. He worked on slot machines. And he moved to Nevada, and him and his wife decided we're going to build a brand new home on our retirement. Very modest, 3-bedroom home, probably about what you and I live in maybe. Not the grandeur of a billionaire. And they decided they wanted to live out their retirement years in that little home. Now, my wife and I drove through that community, 3 years ago? Pahrump, Nevada. And I started laughing. She said, "What do you think's so funny?" I said, "You're kidding me? That's a hilarious name. Who would name a town Pahrump, Nevada?" I said, I kept thinking of that song, Pahrump. You know, what were they thinking? So in Pahrump, Nevada, sits Ronald Wayne and his wife, obviously very retired at this point, housed in this beautiful new little home was their most valued possession. $250,000 in silver and gold. I bet y'all like to have that.
Sure.
Yeah, bring it. You got that right. He wasn't very tight-lipped about its existence, nor its whereabouts. Because one day somebody broke into the home of Ronald Wayne and stole his precious metal, his most valued possession that he had left, forcing him to sell their brand new home. And today Ronald Wayne is retired, living in Nevada in a double wide mobile home. Wow, that's who Ronald Wayne is. So I could sum all up everything I'm saying today. Short lesson, I'm almost done. Everything I'm saying today in one word. Any idea? Somebody want to guess what that one word is?
On this day, choose who you will serve.
It's a little bit louder.
On this day, choose who you will serve.
Really, really close. Choices. We all stand today at the moment of choice.
Yeah.
We can choose good, we can choose bad. I've done much, probably most of my teaching has been on money throughout several areas of the country. And people always want to know because it's a fascinating subject. God says more about money than, Jesus said more about money than heaven and hell combined. There are over 800 scriptures around the subject of money. It's a pretty important subject.
Yeah.
And we have a choice. Money is amoral. What does that mean? Could be good, could be bad.
Yeah.
I've known some of the poorest people in the world. Hello, been one of them. But somebody said, and it's true, that you're going to live within your 5 closest friends. Your income bracket is going to be within those 5 people. I need more friends that have more money than I do. I guess I need to be a little closer to Brother Anthony, maybe. That got his attention. Money, amoral. It means money could be good or bad. I have known the poorest, and I've sat down at least 2 occasions with a billionaire for lunch. I met one time, and I've never been a billionaire. This is the first time, and it fascinated me because all I wanted to talk about him and his money. That ain't what he wanted to talk about. You know what he wanted to talk about? Me. He wasn't interested in talking about him or his wealth. He already knew all that. He said, "What are you doing? How are you?" And every billionaire I've made, 2 or 3 met, 2 or 3 of them, they've all subscribed to the same theory that it's not about their money. They're long past needing money. I've often wondered, you get people like Bill Gates, Sam Walton, Warren Buffett, they're all in the same category. They work 10, 12, 16-hour days. For what? You already got $20 billion. How much more you need? It's not about the money anymore. It's about the chase. It's about making a difference. I'm not a fan of Bill Gates by any stretch. Not a good guy from a political spectrum. Not even close. But Bill Gates doesn't stop. 24 hours a day. Just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. He's one of the largest landowners in the United States. That's scary, by the way. Google it. Not good. But these...
What I was gonna say is you can have money today, but that don't necessarily mean you're gonna hold on to it.
Exactly.
Because you can spend it all in one place or spend it in several different places and then it'll all be gone before you know it.
That's exactly right. I'm told John Jacob Astor, who is that? One word. Titanic. The richest guy, I guess, in the world at that point. They said that they walked into his stateroom and they had bars of gold on his desk. And somebody came in and wanted to talk about surviving. They took the gold and they just threw it off on the table so they could put out the plan on how they're going to survive. Money's not that important when it comes down to it.
Oh no, your survival is more important.
Absolutely, 100,000%. So that's it. Done. We can talk some more.